Nick from Vulcan gun refinishing here. Well, we got a job in from Maryland. I just wanted to show you basically what's involved here in getting guns over from the U.S. It's not a real big ordeal. There's a bit of paperwork, but we hire a guy to do that. But it's comes nicely packaged. You can see that this was opened by Canada border. Basically, they're our Homeland Security. So they opened it. It's got lots of, we take care of all the government paperwork and import forms and export forms and blah, blah, blah. It's a good sturdy box that it gets packaged in. So there's all kinds of, everything has been taken care of, so there's no issues, no problems. Everything comes in just as slick as you please. So, and it was, so it's shown as a firearm. So there it is. Vulcan gun refinishing. So anyway, so that's well, actually, and it comes from, the weapon has to be shipped originally to Solom's Nome in Tacoma, Washington. That's a secured government authorized location. He handles all the paperwork for the weapon coming in and going out and going back in, and so he takes care of everything for a set flat fee. And as you can see, everything is well tagged and marked and protected. Now I'm just going to open up the box and pull out the contents, and we'll see what we've got there. You can begin to see what we insist on customers buying is a gun case, just for added protection and easy for customs to open. And so we put filler in and everything to ensure that it arrives safely and nothing's banging around and moving around inside. So I'm going to pull that box out of here and we'll see what everything looks like inside. So you can see it comes in a nice sturdy, we get a nice sturdy plastic case, not too expensive, just a cheapy. And so everything's well protected. Once again, everything's labeled and marked, and nothing's going to get misdirected or lost in shipping. Everything is tracked along the way. Let's just open this up and see what in the world they brought us. Alright, we got ourselves a P14, a British P14. Once again, well packed, very secure. Nothing's going to get damaged, nothing's going to bounce around. Once again, everything is tagged, bagged, marked. Nothing's going to get misdirected or lost again. The bolt's been removed and been nicely wrapped up and packaged in here. And once again, that's got the owner's name on it, so nothing can get lost. No matter which government agent wants to look at this stuff, they can open it easily, track it down, check all the paperwork. We got duplicates and triplicates of everything in the paperwork. So it's important to me to get American jobs, U.S. jobs. So I'm doing everything in my power to try and make you feel comfortable dealing with me and showing you that it is possible. These guns are coming through. This is the second complete weapon that I've received. I've done lots of parts that didn't need any paperwork, but when you send the receiver the registered part, that's when we got to get into all this paperwork. But I try to make it worth the effort and worth the trouble. But we're going to follow this job along. Like I say, it just arrived here a few minutes ago. I just wanted to get it on film. I want to get it in my vault. And I'll put all the packing material away. We'll ship it back in the same box. So it's very convenient this way. Once again, any government inspector can open that box in seconds and see what's right inside there. So not going to be any problems there. So I'm going to sign off for now, but I just wanted you to see the kind of care and trouble we go through to try and protect your guns. We appreciate all the business, and hopefully we're going to get a whole lot more. So I'm going to keep a video going of this project as it goes from beginning to end, to be able to follow it all the way through its restoration process. So we're starting with a pretty nice unit to begin with. As you can see, she's no slouch, so this one's going to restore quite nicely. So, but I'll get into that in another video. We'll go through that weapon piece by piece, but I just wanted you to see how they arrive here and what's involved in getting them here. So keep the U.S. work coming. Thank you. Alright, so today we're going to start on this P14 that just arrived here from Maryland. Matthew in Maryland. Thank you, Matthew. So we got a really nice example of a British P14, World War I. I'm not sure what year it is yet. I haven't torn it down. There'll be some dates stamped onto the barrel when it was inspected and machined, and so we'll be able to get an exact date on it shortly. But right now I just want to give a preliminary inspection. You know, we took it out of the box and everything, and we've looked it over now, and so we can see that the bluing is pretty much evenly worn a bit. I'm pretty confident this thing's never been refinished. Doesn't have any indications of it. Even the wood doesn't look like it's ever been sanded from what I can tell. Edges and everything are just still way too sharp. But you can see the wood's dirty, and it's certainly got enough dings and dents. There's a few gouges in there. You know, once again, we'll put it through the boiling process, and that'll pop most of that damage out of there. It'll clean that stock up really, really nice, as you've seen. So, you know, obvious dings and wear in the finish. One thing nice about this gun that I don't see, you know, preliminary glance is any major pitting. It's got really nice cartouches in the wood. That's really, really nice. I'm quite impressed with that. No information at all on that disc there, that brass disc. Well, that's all right. So we got the cartouches right there. I've researched them a little bit, and I saw some somewhere else too. Oh yeah, see a number, it's like a 63 or 68. Could just be a rack number. Not sure. Nothing else on the other side. No other cartouches. There's a little bit here on the wrist. A good shot of that. It's E with looks like a crown. Just need a good close-up view of that. My trusty camera here to cooperate with us. Maybe. We'll have a better look at that once I get everything torn down. But it could be, that could be a little bit of pitting once it's bead blasted. There is a little bit of surface rust on there. But, you know, no obvious pitting that's jumping out at me. Nothing too terrible. I don't see any other cartouches in the wood at this point. Just what we looked at. There's nothing up on the upper pieces. They're all void of any markings. There might be some under the wood. Well, we'll know that in a minute. This one is marked ERA, Eddystone Remington Arms, and there's your serial number there. Most of the small parts that I've had a quick look at, they're all marked E for Eddystone. So hopefully everything is fairly matching. Once again, once I get this torn down, we'll have a better idea of, you know, if anything matches or whatever's going on. Just trying to have a quick look at that butt plate. Butt plates always get, you know, probably some of the worst damage of anything, but I can clean that up. Those dings and dents and odd bits of damage, they'll all come out nicely. So yeah, so everything's looking good. I noticed the bolt has a number. I see it just no, I guess that's not really rust, just a few little gouges, small bit of damage there. But what I did notice was the number. It's got a number on the inside. It says 6500. That doesn't match anything on this gun, so that bolt could be out of another gun. We don't know. So again, they can't talk to us. So, but just on a preliminary inspection. Oh yeah, one thing I did notice too. It's missing its sling right off the bat, but that's a minor detail. He may have a sling, I don't know. But the one thing I did notice was this model is equipped with the volley sights. You can see that there. How it even comes with a special stock. The stock is cut differently. Yeah, so as I was saying, the stock is cut a little bit differently to allow for that volley sight. It's even inletted right there for that disc. So this disc is it moves, so you can adjust it to certain distances. I don't know if I can get a good shot of that or what, but you can see graduations in here, and that indicator, that pointer, points to different ranges and graduations. Like I say, it may not be the easiest to see, but we'll look at that in more detail once I tear it down. So the disc is good, and the front sight, if that's what we want to call it, is good. But we have a problem at the back here. Lay this down. The rear, right here, you can see what's left. It's snapped off right there. And you can see the bit of the round base of it. There's a peep sight back here. It's on a little stem that's maybe an inch or so long, comes up back here like this, straight up in the air, and there's a little peep sight right there. And you look through the peep sight and align it with that post, if you will, on the front. And the idea was to take long-range shots from trenches to trenches. Pretty stupid idea, but anyway. So it's going to need that rear peep sight piece. Like I say, the whole stem is busted off. It's a thin little arm that goes almost straight up in the air, about an inch, and then there's a little peep sight. So I'll have to locate one of them. I don't know how rare that is or tough it is to find. I don't know how many of these are equipped with volley sights, but anyway, you can see where it's snapped off right there, busted right there. So we'll go ahead and that's at least one part we're going to have to look for. But overall, like I say, preliminary, everything is here. There's nothing missing other than that peep sight piece. And I guess it's technically there, it's just broken. So I'm going to go ahead and get this thing torn down, degreased, and then we'll have a really, really good look at all the parts, and we'll start the process. We'll get it all restored. We're going to re-blue it. We're going to boil the wood. We've got to be careful with those cartouches. We want to save all those cartouches. I researched that EY a little bit, and what I was able to come up with, it's also stamped over there, right there. Let me get a good shot of that. You can see that. See that EY there, right up at the top. And then of course your British markings again. But anyway, from what I was gathering from a fair amount of research on the internet, is the EY stands for the fact that this thing is only to use ball ammo in an emergency. From what I gather, on the early P14s, there were slight design problems with the internal box magazine that was built inside of this thing. And under that floor plate, there's a little kind of a magazine in there. And apparently, the early ones had a little bit of trouble feeding ball ammo for some reason. So they put a warning on the guns, and that's what that stands for. It doesn't mean in any way that it's unsafe to shoot. It's completely safe to shoot. It's just that you could have a slight feeding problem with ball ammo. And I think it says use ball ammo only in emergency. So, if you're desperate and you got nothing else, then go ahead and use it. But there could be a chance that it's going to hang up or give you a slight feeding problem. So once again, nothing unsafe, just could be possibly slightly unreliable with the wrong or right kind of ammo. So anyway, enough on that. I'm going to go ahead and get this thing torn down, and we'll get it all degreased, and we'll have another look at it once I got it disassembled. All right, so we're on our P14 again. We got it all disassembled, and I degreased it real quick just so I could handle it. No big, huge surprises, disappointments. It's almost a 100-year-old gun, so I wouldn't be disappointed if we did find a few little issues. But overall, it's really quite nice. Just a little bit of light surface rust on a few odd pieces, but really nothing too major. Once I got it all torn down, I was able to finally see. Get this over here a little bit. Could finally see what year this thing was built, and 1916. You can see that plainly right there. 1916. And it's got a few inspector's marks and probably machinist marks. Every time a machinist got a certain operation done, you could see more there. He would stamp his initials or whatever in there to show that he'd done his particular job. So like I say, it's nice to know what year it was made. And another nice thing about this one is it's an Eddystone. Where did I see that E at? Right there. So E for Eddystone. And it's the matching serial number 30045, 30045. Once again, it's got the EY marking on that barrel, which from all my research, as I said earlier, indicates a possible situation using ball ammo. So if you guys research that, you'll see what I mean. So I don't want to waste too much time talking about that again. I mentioned it in the earlier part of the video. So anyway, starting at the butt plate, we've got some dings and dents, which we certainly fully expect from a weapon of this vintage. It's going to have some damage on it, so it's got its share of issues, all right, but they're all quite fixable, just not too horribly bad. A little bit of rust right there, but we can clean that up, and of course a few dings and dents, but so no horrible thing there. The inside not bad. I don't see any numbers stamped on it, so it's not as if it was matched to this rifle. Butt plate door, little trap door, is decent, but it has, it has a little bit of surface rust and a few minor dings and dents. The screws for it are fine. They're just a little bit of surface rust on them, but we'll clean them up. There's a bunch of the small parts for various sections of this gun. You can see that some of them are kind of dry. There hasn't been a whole lot of oil going on here lately. All the springs inside are dry and a little bit rusty. So it hasn't been, taken apart and maintained anytime recently, that's for sure. We've got the bolt here, which I think I mentioned earlier that it's not the matching, it's not the right bolt, it's not the bolt that this weapon came with. This bolt is numbered 65, a little cooperation here from our friend. It's marked 6550. Now it's an Eddystone, at least. We can see the E there for Eddystone, but the number's not right. So we're going to talk about the headspace on this one in a little bit. But other than the mismatched number, it's looking good. There's a couple minor, those are really stamping, so I guess we've got nothing. I see a tiny little bit of rust there, but not bad. It's quite nice for what it is, being almost 100 years old. No other issues that I can see. Got no cracked lugs or anything. That's all good. So we'll talk about that more in a minute. Here's that broken rear volley sight, peep sight, the rear part of it. It has it's got a broken stem. The stem would be about another inch or so long with a little peep sight on it. So I'm going to have to be finding one of those pieces. Only the British use the volley sight. I don't believe any U.S. 1917s, which is basically the same gun, I don't believe any of them ever used any volley sights as far as I know. So there's a few minor differences in the P14. Actually well, for sure the three pieces. I'm not sure about this. I'd have to check that again. It's probably different, being that it's a 303 though. But as far as difference between volley and non-volley, these are your main three pieces that are different. So, and there's of course your front plate with your markings on it, with your graduations on it, and that's part of your volley sight too. It's graduated out to, let's see, goes from 1,500 yards all the way up to 2,500, I believe, 2,600, yeah. So that'll all clean up nice. There's our sight or pointer and front sight. The top of it you'd sight that in with the missing peep sight part on that one. And the proper spring and the unique screw that holds it all together. So all these parts are correct, which is nice. We got your trigger guard. It's an Eddystone once again. So, and once again, no big issues. Got a little bit of rust there. That might be slightly pitted once I bead blast it, but that'll be a fairly easy piece to repair. It won't be anything too severe there. So, you can see that, that's not too bad. It's not bad really, anywhere. It's a little bit pitted there, but that's nothing. I don't consider that to be anything too severe. So we'll get that cleaned up. Trigger, everything looks good. All their contact points and everything is still nice and sharp. So nothing's worn. All our trigger guard screws are fine, and our safety, everything looks good on the safety. Just a little tiny bit of issue there, but so that's all looking good. Everything's looking good. I'm just trying to see who. Don't see any markings on this one. They don't always mark our little parts, so not sure who made that one. Maybe with a better cleaning and some bead blasting, we might be able to see the mark. So, but like I say, sometimes the parts aren't even marked. So our extractor, everything's good. Firing pin, recoil spring, or firing pin spring, sorry. All our sight parts for our rear sight, they're all good. Everything's good there. Our magazine body and our follower. There's our floor plate. It's nice. It's got a couple minor things. It's an Eddystone, so it's a fairly matching piece. Receiver ring, rear handguard ring, whatever's good. Band's not bad. Just a little bit of once again minor issues, very minor. They'll all clean up really nice. All our screws for our sling swivels and everything, they're all good. They're a little rusty. Like I say, this thing hasn't seen oil in a little while, but that'll all clean up real nice. Our stacking swivel looks good. Our other sling swivel, once again, a little bit rusty, but nothing we can't handle. So, and our front band. That's all nice. No big issues there. So everything overall is looking very nice. I'm trying to see once again, who made this part. But Eddystone, okay, good. There's an E for Eddystone, so we got that. It's another matching piece. That's nice. Our front sight, it's not all dinged up and bent. A lot of these have bent ears, but this one's nice. I checked this one over too, and I looked it over fairly carefully, and I couldn't see any markings on it. So maybe once it's cleaned up a little better, bead blasted a little bit better, we might be able to see some markings on it, but no big deal. Now the wood's pretty decent. At this point there's no cracks that I can see. Everything looks to be in quite good shape. There's no markings underneath this piece. It's blank, void of any markings. That'll boil up really nice. It's got a nice red tint to it. I like that. Here's our front handguard. Once again, looking good. No big issues. No cracks. Now this one does have some markings. There's it's like an A there. See that A? Let me get over here where we don't get it confused with other parts. Camera only likes to focus on one thing, I see. So there's an A right there, and there's a it's like a 1. Yeah, that looks like a number 1. So there's our A. So I don't see anything else on this piece. Looks good, nice looking piece. And then our main stock, we've got, we talked about this a little bit earlier, and I did see some markings. Where did I see them? Right in there, yes, I saw some markings right in there, and it's looks like an 8, it's like an 8G maybe, and then a 6. So once again, we don't know what any of that means, but the standard British military markings, I can see this quite plainly now. It says 4E, and it's got the crown symbol and 4E. So nothing else that I can see there, or just these the main markings. Nothing else on this side. Got your cutout for your volley sight. A little bit of damage, a few chips and bits of damage right there. Another little bit right on the edge there, but nothing too serious. We can fix all that. This stock, I believe, has never been sanded. It just seems too sharp and nicely detailed. Having a little trouble getting that cross bolt out of there. I got it soaking with some WD-40. Well, they stake those. They peen them after they get them tightened, so it's pretty difficult sometimes to get them unthreaded, but I have to do it. I'm going to be boiling this stock, so I don't want that in my way. So, and then these markings we talked about before, which are just very nice, really, really good, crisp, sharp markings. You see pattern of 14. Pattern of 14. I got the EY again, and the IE, and that's a funny little symbol there. So, but no, once again, no major cracks or not even, horrible dings. I mean, there's some dings, but not, for being that this is almost 100 years old, it's not shabby. I'm quite happy with it. It's nice up at the end. It's not all chipped or broken away. A little tiny bit there up the very front there from the band, and no other markings. I can't see any other markings whatsoever. So I think we're good to go. It's got to remove those metal shims, those sleeves that are in there. We'll get those out of there before it goes into the boiling tank. But once again, this wood's going to get boiled and restained, and there's your disc. The disc has no markings on it whatsoever. I mean, it looks like it's been in there quite a while, but it has no markings. So, I mean, it probably is the original disc. Just surprised it has no markings at all, but it sure looks like it's been in there a while. So, overall, I think we're basically there. So this gives us a good chance, a good preliminary look at all the parts as far as condition. Now, one issue did come up that presents a little bit of a problem, and I'm going to move the gun over to the vise, and we're going to look at this little situation and figure out what we're going to do with it. All right, so I mentioned earlier about headspace. All right, so when I got to checking this bore and everything and checked the condition of the barrel, the first thing I noticed was that the bore was really nice and bright and clean. It's got a really beautiful, bright, shiny bore. So that was kind of encouraging. But then I put my headspace gauges in. Now this is that bolt. This is the original bolt that came with this gun. This is the one with the serial number of 6560 or whatever it is. Yeah, 6550. So I got my my headspace gauges. Now this one is the what do we got here? We've got the British Field. Okay, this is the one I want right here. Get a good shot of this. This is our no-go. See that? Where do we go? No-go. If you can see that or not. But anyway, that's our no-go gauge. Camera's not cooperating as usual. But anyway, so our no-go gauge. Now, if we put our no-go gauge in there, we can see the bolt, for the most part, closes right tight. Close it. I'm going to rotate this receiver just a little bit so that we can have a better look at it underneath as that bolt is closing. Be able to see that she's touching the receiver. That bolt handle is touching the receiver. See it under there. You can see the bolt is touching the receiver, even with the no-go. So she's tight. She's closing on a no-go, which we don't like. Let's check it on a field gauge just to see. A field is that's the one that really got to be worried about that it might. If it's going to close on a field gauge, then we're talking about something that's fairly dangerous to shoot. Closing on a no-go, that's not too recommended to begin with, but closing on a field is definitely not a good situation. So we'll put our field gauge in. That's our field. Yeah, field gauge. If you can read that or not, but you'll have to take my word for it. It says field on there. So we'll throw that one in there. Put our bolt back in. This is the, yeah, that's our 65. That's that one that was from a different gun, 6550. So we'll put that one in now. And what's that going to do? Okay, so you can see, not quite, get that light for a second. You can see there's a little gap there, little gap where it hasn't quite closed totally on the against the receiver. See, there's a little gap between the bolt handle and the edge of the receiver. There's a little gap right in there. You can see it. So it's not fully closing on a field gauge, but it certainly closes on a no-go, which I don't like. I mean, it almost closes on a field gauge, so that's not the best. Now I have another bolt, a used bolt from another P14 that I worked on years ago, just extra parts, whatever. And so I tried that bolt in there just for the heck of it, and let's see what it shows us. Get that collar out of the way. Okay, so there's our, still got our field gauge in. We haven't moved anything. Let's see how this one compares. Okay, well that's a whole lot better. That one, when it jams down, when it stops rotating, you can see we got quite a bit of gap right there. There's a fair amount of gap between the bottom of the bolt handle and the side of the receiver. So that's good. That bolt is definitely in better shape than the original bolt. Well, once again, that isn't the original bolt. That's the thing. That's a bolt that someone's put in there for some reason. Who knows? I'm just going to check now with a no-go gauge. I want to see what the no-go gauge tells me. Get that out of there. We got our no-go. Where's that no-go? All right, let's put that in there. Okay, and put this bolt back in. I know it's this bolt because this bolt's had some really light turning, engine turning on it. It was probably, you know, some custom hunting rifle at some time in its life. So if I do use this bolt, I'll be gently polishing to get some of those marks out of there when they gave it that machined engine turned look, or whatever you want to call it. So most of that's even worn away now anyway. So I'm going to put this bolt in now. Yeah, put that bolt in with the no-go. And now the other one closed right tight on the receiver with the no-go, the bolt that was in there. But this one here, there's a little bit of gap there. See that little bit of gap? Not a ton, but there is a gap there. So at least it hasn't fully closed on that no-go. So once again, both with the field and the no-go gauge, this bolt is definitely better. So I'm going to recommend to the customer that we put that original one back in again, or once I keep calling it the original and it's not, and you can just see now it's going to closes right up tight. There's absolutely no gap there. It's banging nice and hard against that receiver. So there's zero, you know, it's closing all the way on a no-go. So basically, I don't like that bolt. I'm going to recommend that he use this bolt. It's a little bit better. I had yet another bolt I tried, but it was even worse. So we'll give up on that idea. But we'll try this, what we got here. See if he's willing to go that. Because the barrel is too nice to change. I mean, the rifling is excellent. The bore is really shiny. I'm pretty sure that if we were to if we could find an unissued bolt, we'd have pretty good dimensions here. But even with this used bolt, like I say, it's at least better than the one that was in there, the one that it arrived at the shop with. So I'm going to try and talk him into that, and we'll see what we can do. So anyway, our preliminary check of this weapon is basically done, and now I'm going to go ahead and give it a good degreasing, see what the customer wants to do about that bolt. I'll start looking for that rear volley sight piece, and we'll start getting this thing bead blasted and getting it ready for bluing. We're going to blue this one, and then I'll be able to also get all the small parts. I'll look all the small parts over as far as, you know, screw heads that need to be cleaned up a little bit. But there's not much on this gun. There's going to be some real minor pitting, but nothing too major. So I will get going on that, and I'll keep you in the loop as I work on it. All right. We've got all our parts for our P14 now bead blasted. So now we can get a really good look. There's no more surprises now. Like I've said earlier in a lot of my videos, whenever you see anything that's discolored, become suspicious. And sure enough, once again, this proved to be exactly the case on this one. So wherever there was areas that I was a little suspicious about, sure enough, we had pitting. So I'm going to look at the receiver and the barrel first. I'm just going to move over here so the camera doesn't get confused. It only likes to look at one thing at a time. So I'm going to move this over here, and I'm going to get my barrel and the receiver. And we talked earlier about the headspace problems on this one, and the barrel condition is beautiful and everything, but the headspace wasn't so good. But as far as the receiver itself, in condition-wise, is really quite nice. There's some minor damage to it, just a couple little dings and dents. You can see kind of a color difference there, which I'm attributing to possible hardening. I know on the model of 1917s, you see that difference right there from there to there, and you can even see it. You can see it even on the inside, through here. If you can, I don't know if the camera can pick it up, but I can see a color difference right here. It goes through the whole thing, and even on that side, you can see it once again. So I'm assuming that this one's going to come out kind of a two-tone. I didn't notice it, before we tore it down. You see it on 1917s, U.S. 1917s, but I haven't noticed it much on the P14s yet. Maybe a different hardening process or something. I'm just not sure. But anyway, so now we get to see up close, and like I say, no big problems, surprises. Just the one bit of a ding there that I found, which once again, it's certainly nothing we're going to lose sleep over. You can see it right there. That ding right there I'm going to have to fix. And a couple minor, that one right there. We got another one, little one there. We got, some minor pitting. You can see it there, but certainly minor. Just a few little marks, dings, dents. Nothing major, but, as usual, if the customer wants, I will go over this thing and mint it out, file out any damage or issues. Alright, so enough on that anyways. The receiver's nice. I'm just going to put that away, and now we'll look at some of the individual small parts themselves, because they're, they all need to have a little bit of attention. Well, not all of them, but now I checked most of these parts over, and the parts that are marked are pretty much all Eddystone. Now there's a couple of, I'm going to get a piece here that's got one of these odd marks on it. Okay, right here. Once again, I don't profess to be an authority on these things, so excuse my stupidity, but we have one mark there that, now it's not an Eddystone. Can you see it? I'm going to see it right here. I'm going to see if I can get, yeah, there we go. We're getting it. So is that it's not the typical W for Winchester. Is that a W? Can we take that for a W? It's not really an E. It's not the normal E that I see. So it's not a W, not an E. I don't know what it is. And then we have that symbol there. So someone who's a little more versed in P14s would probably know who manufactured this. But the point I'm making is that the vast majority of the parts on this are Eddystone. So that's good. So getting back to this piece, you can plainly see it's an Eddystone part. And after it was bead blasted, it came out very, very nice. Like overall, this gun is in nice shape. There's only a few select areas that need some attention. Once again, there's always little dings along the edge. You can see little tiny bits of damage. Along the edge, you can see a little ding right there. And if we want to fix that, I don't know. It's totally up to the customer. So this is giving him an opportunity to see what's wrong. So he can't be here. This gun's from Maryland. This gun came all the way in from Maryland to be finished. So, looks like a bit of a pit right there. Yeah, definitely a bit of a pit right there. We could fix it, leave it, maybe replace this piece. Once again, just showing all the damage, so then we can get a good idea of how far the customer wants to go, what his budget is, so on and so forth. So that's that piece. Front sight is really nice. I didn't see any markings on the front sight other than those. That's the only thing, and that's really just a that's just telling us that it's a P14 front sight, and that's probably its height, 30 thou. Would that be? Yeah, it'd be about 30 thou. So, minor little marks. They'll all file out in little chips along the edge. That'll all clean up really nice, but no horrible pitting. Really quite presentable. So we'll get that cleaned up. We got our band. Now that band has got that same strange little symbol on it that, once again, I don't know, is that W for Winchester or is that E for Eddystone? To me it doesn't look like either one, but I'm not claiming authority on these. So, but overall, pretty nice. Minor issues, but really nothing of any concern. Barrel ring is good. It's marked Eddystone, so that matches. That's nice. No pitting, nothing on that. Basically, all the screws are all in pretty nice shape. There's a couple of them with just minor buggered up slots that I'll clean them up. Here's that rear volley sight I talked about earlier that's broke off. That fits in the gun, and it would have had a shaft coming up about another inch or so with a peep sight on it. So I've located one. It just has to come from a ways away. So it'll be a week or two before it gets here. But what else have we got? We got the disc. Before I couldn't see the graduations as well. Let me move that out of the way. Couldn't see the graduations as well. So let's see if maybe we can get them to show up now and see. Have a little bit better look at this. There we go. All right. You can see it goes from 1500 right up to 2600. So that's in pretty good shape. No big problems there. So what else we got? We got our rear sight leaf. It looks good. Maybe some minor pitting, but no, not even pitting. It's just dust. Well, very clean, very nice. One of the worst parts I found, we talked about this even earlier though, was the butt plate. And they all get smashed and bashed. That's what it's there for. It's supposed to be. Saves the wood. So all those dings, dents, pits, whatever, that'll all be cleaned. Just pay attention to that, because when you see it done, it's going to look a whole lot better. I'll put a little bit of graining in it when I'm done. And so no markings on this piece. No idea who made this piece. No manufacturer's mark. A little bit of pitting on the inside, but we're not going to worry about that. So that's probably needs more work than any other piece. We've got the little trap door for it, and it's got a couple of little bits of damage, but once again, not hard to fix. What else we got? We got our floor plate. Floor plate is decent. No big terrible issues with it. It seemed to me, if I remember correctly, did I have an E? Yeah, that's a Eddystone part. You can see right there up in the corner. E for Eddystone. Top of the E is missing a little bit, but it's definitely Eddystone. So it's again looking pretty good. No bad stuff on there. So clean that up a little bit. I had mentioned this trigger guard when I was doing the initial inspection, that it had a spot that looked kind of suspicious, and sure enough, you get that to focus in, you can see right where I was talking earlier. If you look at the earlier part of the video, it was not pitted, but it was discolored. So once again, it's rust, it just hasn't been disturbed yet. So once we hit it with the bead blaster, that just blows it up. And when people keep polishing the outside of them, they're smoothing those little rust spots that are starting, they're smoothing them down. So they're keeping the outside smooth, but the rust is still alive. As long as it's getting oxygen, it's still working, so it's working its way down. If it can't work its way up because you keep polishing it, it'll work its way down. And that's exactly what happens. It keeps eating and eating away into the metal, but you can't see it until you bead blast it. So that gives you a real good idea of what I'm talking about. But that is so common on guns. I don't know how many guns I get in here, and everybody, oh, there's no rust on my gun, no rust at all. It's mint. Just got a little discoloration. Yeah, really. Guess what happens when I bead blast it? That's why it's discolored, buddy. and your magazine body, that's all good. No big surprises there. So you know, all our springs were good. We cleaned them all up. That's all nice to go. Firing pin spring, and we got our firing pin. I think the firing pin, oh no, it's an Eddystone. Yeah, I can see the E right. There's an E right there. I can see it. So, well, firing pin's good. Nothing damaged, nothing wore. Our little brass disc cleaned up real nice. So no markings on it, but oh well, we'll put it back in just like that. So overall, I think we've pretty much covered most everything on this piece now. You can see there's no real horrible, you know, once again, little, you know, couple minor little dings and marks. You know, a rifle that's 100 years old, we've got to expect some minor situations, but I'm quite happy with this. A little bit of metal repair on a few pieces, but nothing too severe. There's that bolt release. Now, because this one has the volley sight, see, it has a little dimple in there machined away that you won't find on your 1917s. Because I don't believe 1917s ever came with, I don't believe 1917s ever came with volley sights. I bet my mother's boots on that. So this is once again an Eddystone piece. Getting a little uncooperation here. Let me give it nothing to look at but that piece, and maybe it'll join the party. But if not, oh well, no big deal. We know what it says. So that's that. So overall, I guess everything is looking good. Oh, one little piece I saw that did have some pitting on it. I mean, I'm sure it's not going to show up. It's got some minor spots on it. So let's spend a little bit of time on that, clean that up, clean up that pitting. So that's a fairly visible spot. And once a visible part, and once again, that's for the volley sight. So, like I say, I don't know if Mr. Camera's picking it up, but I think you can see that in there. So anyway, oh yeah, we did talk about the one thing about the bolt issue. Now, the bolt that he has is a nice looking bolt. There's no pitting, there's no issues, there's nothing. I mean, that's a good looking piece. But it's got terrible headspace. So this is out of some other gun. You know, you can tell by the serial number that's not the matching one to this gun, because it's got that, where was that number again? Yeah, 6550, once again, that we saw in the beginning. So it's been thrown in there maybe by the Army, maybe by the British military, who knows. But it won't cut the mustard. That one's not going to make it. The extractor's nice. No issues on the extractor. That all looks good. Now, I did find him another bolt. I got a used bolt in my parts inventory that we talked about earlier, and it had some jeweling or machining done to it. And once I cleaned up the machining, unfortunately, the thing is quite pitted. So I don't know quite yet what I'm going to do. See if I can get that to show up at all. Some cooperation here, but you should be able to see the pitting there. Just not good. You couldn't put that back in that gun. It'd be a waste. So anyway, we're going to talk to the customer and see. I could maybe throw this in a lathe and spin it, take it down just a thou or two, and get below all that pitting. I could probably do that, but I'll talk to the customer, because it's a much better bolt. Dimensionally, it's a much better bolt. Now they're going to be safe to shoot with that bolt. Would not be safe to shoot with the old bolt. I'm saying that right on film. Do not shoot this gun with the old bolt. Excessive headspace. So there, that's my disclaimer. So we'll talk to him about this bolt and see what he wants to do. But anyway, overall, that's it. That's the inspection of all these parts. I'll go ahead and get a hold of the customer and see what he wants to do, if he wants me to fix all these or what he wants to do. So I'll keep you in the loop as I move along. All right, so we've been working away on our P14 receiver, and it's incredibly hard. I remember I showed you the two-toning. You can't see it anymore now that I've started working on it, but it certainly was hard, all right, especially that last back end, that last inch or so. Boy, just like rock. So it had some minor pitting. You remember the ding and stuff it had in there. Get a good shot of that. with our trusty camera, so I can bring our camera down a little bit, have a better look at it this way. So you remember it had a dent and stuff in it, you know, right in this area here somewhere, right in here. So I tried filing it out, but it was just so incredibly hard I couldn't do anything with it. So I tried stoning it, and it was still, it was just taking so long. So I ended up using a small, tiny little disc, 100 grit disc on a Dremel, and so that took it down really nice. That got below all the pitting. So now I just have to go in and get rid of the disc marks with some emery cloth. I did it on the other side. The other side I've already hit it with the disc, the grinding disc, took all the pitting out, and now I've hit it with 100 grit on you know, on a block with emery cloth. So you can see all the grinding marks are gone. Everything looks really nice now. And I worked my way along on there because we had a bit of pitting in that area too, in amongst the lettering. There's a bit of pitting on that piece there. So that's all been cleaned up. And I'm just starting now on the front section. You can see if I move it really, really slow, and I get even a little closer, you can see the pitting. And when I rotate that really slow, you can see all the pitting in there. So that front section still needs to be worked on, but I wanted to just give you a view as we're working our way along. I know I haven't done that front section much. I hit it with a file, but like I say, I wasn't really getting anywhere. So I'll have to take my little Dremel and the grinding disc and get that cleaned up, get that down, and I can hit that with emery cloth too. So anyway, that's all coming along. All that roughness here in the metal, that's part of the manufacturing process, and that's all hidden by the wood on these. The wood comes up to that line right there, so you're not going to see any of that anyway. And that's natural. That's part of the machining process. It's not really pitting. That's just roughness in the metal when it was made. So, but here you can see on this area here, we still have a little bit of pitting going on. Move my camera over a little bit. You can see where we've still got a little bit of pitting going on in this area here. So I haven't dealt with that yet. But so this upper part is really good. So that's got everything cleaned up now. I just need to get rid of those marks. So I'll keep you abreast. So I worked here a little bit too. I hit that with my grinding disc a bit because that was pitted and dinged up. So that's good. I just need to get rid of those marks now with emery cloth. But so it's coming along really good. I'm happy. So we're making good progress on this receiver, and a lot of the small parts they're sitting on my bench ready to be cleaned up. You know, everything's got just a light bit of pitting, but not bad. So this won't be a huge, monstrous project. But anyway, so that's that for that. I just wanted to let you see how it was coming along for now, but I'll keep you in the loop as I'm working along. Alright, so I've been working away on this P14 receiver, and I'm basically done all my metal finishing. Now this wasn't very bad, but it did have just the lightest coating of minor pits. So I went ahead and cleaned them up, filed them. You can see all the markings are still very nice. Let's see if I can get a bit of a focus here. All the markings survived quite nicely. There we go. So no issues there. You can just see in the metal there. I left it in 100 grit, but you can see in the metal that it's just pit free now. Nice and clean. No more issues. If you're going to go to the trouble of blue it, you may as well make it look nice. Now those 100 grit scratches won't really be visible very much after it's bead blasted, but it will give it a little bit of a machined look, which is what I'm striving for. You know, we had to remove any machining marks that were in there in the rust pit repair process, so if I can put a few, kind of graining marks, if you will, in there afterwards, it just adds a little bit. So I went around all the edges, cleaned up all the edges, wherever there was little dings and chips and gouges in the metal, because these things get, banged up and beat up. So you can see those side ears now are nice and clean, and the edges are restored. The side is nice, there's no pitting at all. Places where it's going to be hidden by, the bolt stop and stuff like that, I didn't bother to clean that up. Like I say, there's not much rust on this gun anyway, but I'm only worried about the visible parts. I'm just trying to save the customer some money. So anyway, so I'm good. Like I said, I cleaned it all up in there, the front of the side ears, and all along the top of the receiver in there. They even went up inside the the inside of the barrel ring, kind of right there. So it's good. I got all my edges and radiuses just the way they had them. So I'm happy. We didn't deface anything. We didn't weaken anything. So this one's a little bit more challenging because I couldn't soften this receiver. I didn't want to lose. If you remember, it had two-toning in the middle here. There was two-tone, and if we send it out and get it annealed and hardened, we'll lose the two-tone. It would have been a lot easier to file if it had been softened, but and plus by annealing and hardening it, you'd want to pull the barrel off, and I didn't want to break up. This has been together all these years. Let's keep it together. So I had to work on this receiver in its hardened state, and that involves a little bit different. You can't really use a file. The file can't get tough enough files. So everything had to be stoned and ground, and so it was a little bit more challenging. And everything's round on a Enfield. Just those two side ears are about the only flat thing on the whole project. So that added a little bit more dimension of difficulty to it. But in the end, it came out good. I'm real happy. So we don't have to anneal it or reharden it or anything now. So next step now is bead blast. Well, actually, on this particular one, the actual next step is to get back on that bolt and play with that bolt and get that issue fixed up where it's got the bad headspace. We're going to get those bolt lugs welded up, and we'll see what we can do with that. So, but anyway, this part of the metal finishing is all done. I've got a few minor spots that I've got to clean up, a few small parts, a couple of bands that got some minor pitting, but overall, that's it. So this is coming nicely down the line. We've got this stage done, so we'll keep working away on the other pieces and let you know how we're making out. All right, so we've got our bolt for our P14, and if you remember, we had the bad headspace problem. So what I decided to try was the bolt that came with this thing, even though it's not the right bolt, at least according to that serial number that it's got on there, that 6550 or whatever it is. So anyway, so what I did was I had the back end of the lugs built up. Now it's going to be a little hard to see. I'm going to try and get this in here really, really carefully. And it's more of that just absolutely amazing. See if I can get a little cooperation from our camera here. Absolutely unbelievable TIG welding. I'm just going to rotate that real slowly. So you see I just had the back end built up. You can see the beads of, you can see all the passes of weld back in there on the back end of that lug. So that's been built up. We had it built up about 3 thou. You can see that there on that lug. And then once again on that lug, same thing. So that's been built up. Just see the incredible detail of that welding in there. It's just unbelievable. Gotta love those laser welders. So that's all been built up on the back end. So now I'm just going to clean the excess off so I can get this bolt into the gun. And then I'm going to start playing with the headspace, and I'm going to start taking some material off the back end of those lugs. I have to be careful because you can see they're both tapered, so I've got to make sure that I maintain that same idea. But I don't anticipate this as being a horrendous problem. Everything else on this bolt is nice. There's no pitting. There's nothing. It's got to remove that serial number there. We'll take care of that, and a few file strokes will get rid of that, so that's no big deal. So anyway, so I'll keep you posted on how I'm making out as I'm trying my little experiment here, but I think it should work just fine, but we will see shortly. So I've been working away on this bolt that I had welded because the headspace was so bad. So what I did was I had just the back end, just the back part of the 2 lugs built up, both lugs with TIG weld. I had them built up, originally we built them up 3 thou, and I tried head spacing it, and it still wasn't quite enough, so I sent it back in, and I had it built up another 3 thou. So, but then you took some down, whatever. But now, at least, now when it goes in the gun, I've got a go gauge in the gun. So now you can see that it doesn't quite close. So that's good. It doesn't even quite close on a go gauge. I mean, it's very close to closing, but it's not. So what I'm going to do now, just to bring it into the last little bit, is I'm going to lap the lugs. And it's very close, but I'm going to lap the lugs a little bit, and that'll bring it in right onto the money. So we're going to have beautiful, nice, tight headspace on this one. So that idea of building those up worked just fine, just excellent. Just took a little bit of time to, to blue them and file them and blue them and file them and keep playing with it and fitting it. And I made a little piece here for the lapping, which will work really good to put some rearward pressure on those lapping lugs. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to put a little bit of compound on those lugs, and we're going to lap that in a little bit, and we should be able to get it right to the exact head space. I'm just going to use a little bit of lapping compound, and just put it on the back ends of the lugs, and we'll see how that works out. Alright, so I put a little bit of lapping compound. You see it right there on the just the back ends of those lugs. So then we're going to put it in our rifle, and our rifle has got the spring-loaded .303 cartridge inside of it. You can see it in there. I'm just going to put the bolt in now. And it'll find a lot of resistance from that bullet, but that's alright. We'll get it closed. Okay, so now there's a tremendous amount of rear pressure pushing. So I'm just going to keep working back and forth. And I don't know if you can see in there, but anyway, we're working in the back of those lugs. I mean, we're working in a little bit into that receiver too, but that's all right. This bolt's never going to go anywhere other than with this receiver, so that's totally fine. Just got to move it in. It might take 100 movements like this we're getting very close on the headspace, so it probably won't be all that bad, but I'm just going to go ahead and work this a little bit, and we're going to see what she looks like in a minute. I'll clean all the lapping compound off, and we'll check that headspace again. So I'm eager to see. We should have it right on the money now. Alright, so we lapped a little more and took down the back ends of those lugs just a little bit more. So now we're going to put our go gauge back in. We've got our go gauge here. Yeah, go. We're going to put that back in and see how that bolt likes it now. Like I say, it was almost closing, very close to closing on the go gauge before. So now, I mean, it's there. That's beautiful. I'm real happy with that. Yeah. I want to do one more thing just to confirm that. I'm going to put a little bit of bluing on the back ends of those lugs, and we'll see how they're wearing in, if they're wearing in evenly or not. They should be, but we'll just double check that. Okay. Alright, so I put a little bit of bluing on the back of the back of those lugs, just to see now. I'm going to close it on the go gauge, and I just want to see the wear pattern on those bolts on the lugs, and just see if it's an even wear pattern or not. And what do I see? Wow, look at that. Beautiful. It's excellent. Yeah, I can live with that. That's very nice. Very nice. So, and just for the hell of it, if I were to take that, I'm going to put the no-go gauge in just for the heck of it, and we'll see what that looks like. So we put our no-go gauge in, so now just want to see, and look at that. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So it's not even close to touching the, I'm going to move this around a little bit, and we can see from underneath just how close it is to touching the receiver. Alright, so here we are actually underneath now, and you can see there's still, a fair amount of gap right in here. Still quite a bit of gap, so we're good on the no-go. No problem. That's beautiful. Not even close. Just for the heck of it, I want to take this other bolt that we used to like and see what it does in the no-go. It's hard to see because it's black, but it's almost, I mean, it's safe to shoot, but it's getting in there. It's getting close to the no-go edge there, So anyway, so I'm happy. So that new bolt's going to work just well, not a new bolt, but a re-welded bolt. It's going to work just fine. We've got excellent headspace now, so we can shoot this thing 1,000,000 rounds. Look at that. Look at all that gap. Beautiful. Shoot this 1,000,000 rounds and nobody's going to have any problems. So good. So that worked. I'm happy. And we'll get back on the other pieces now. The receiver's all done as far as metal finishing, and I've got some of the small pieces done. Now I'll just work on the bands and other couple small parts. The wood's coming right along. That's just about done. So this thing might be wrapped up here within another week or so. It'd be nice to get this one done. So I'll keep you in the loop. Alright, so we've got all the parts for the P14 all metal finished now. Everything had a slight bit of surface rust on it, and so after bead blasting that translates into pitting. Not deep, wasn't real bad, but you couldn't have blued it. If you're going to go to this much effort, you're going to certainly clean all that metal. You're going to make everything look as nice as you can. And that's what we've done. Every piece has been gone over, and any pitting or any issues were sanded out of it. A little bit of oil on some of these. Well, actually all these parts are oiled, so any shiny spots you see, that's just oil. So everything was given a nice bit of light graining after the pit was removed, and then glass beaded everything. So it's got a nice satiny finish, so it won't be a high gloss, and that's exactly proper for this. Some of the there's a few odd small parts that didn't need any pit work or rust repair work, so we were bluing something else last week, so we sent these parts in and had them blued, so they're basically ready to go. But everything else is now ready. So I cleaned up all the screw heads, so there's no stripped screws or anything like that. Everything's nice and cleaned up, and everything looks new again. So that'll be great. No more stripped slots, and so everything's been given a nice bead blast, and like I say, anything that needed pit work or rust pit removal was taken care of. That's it's a nice Eddystone piece now. If we can get our trusty camera to cooperate, but you'll have to trust me on that one. It's an Eddystone piece. We got all our long-range volley sight. Everything was cleaned up there. The stock screw, I had a little trouble getting that stock screw out. I had to drill into the end of it a little bit to remove the peening. They had peened it from the factory, so I had to get in and drill it a little bit on the end to get rid of the peen. So it's a tiny bit shorter than it used to be, but it'll be fine. And we got our the nut for it, and our handguard ring and all that. That's that bolt that I did all the work to, that we had it welded and everything, so that's all good to go now. We've got excellent headspace on that. There's the spring for the rear volley sight that was pitted, so I cleaned that up. I left it a little bit shiny. A lot of the pictures I've seen of P14s, that spring is shiny, so that's how I'm going to leave this one. Basically everything else has been gently bead blasted. I've got the butt plate. I left the butt plate shiny. The butt plate was a real mess, if you remember. It was dented and rusted and scratched and beat up. So now it's really nice. Now it's got an excellent, perfect finish on it. There's no issues on it now. It's excellent. That'll look good. I'm going to leave that shiny. And the butt plate, I did the butt plate, while it was installed, the butt trap door, so all the graining would match each other. So, and all the screws for the butt plate, they're all cleaned up. So there's nothing here now that needs any attention. This was even pitted. Even the extractor was a little bit pitted, so I cleaned that up, gave it a little bit of graining. The floor plate, once again, I gave it just a little tiny bit of graining and bead blasted it. So we're good to go. If you remember, the trigger guard had some pitting in here, so that's all been taken care of. There's no more issues now. She's as clean as could be. So any little dings, dents, pits, anything were removed. So this is basically as mint as we can make it. There's the new rear volley sight. Remember, the original one was broken, so I was able to locate a new one, and it's kind of nice because it's actually an Eddystone. I don't know if you can see that or not, but yeah, there you go. It's an E for Eddystone. So it even matches. That's a little bonus. So that's it for this. So the next thing we're going to do now is take all these parts in and get them black oxided. The stock is coming right along. It's just about ready. So we'll get these parts all set out today, and hopefully tomorrow or so it'll be back, and we'll review it again and see how everything looks. But we're coming down the line on this one. Won't be too long and we'll have this all wrapped up. So stay tuned. Alright, so we've got everything for the P14 back from the black oxide shop. So we got it all ready here, got it all prepped. I did all the metal finishing and polishing, got everything down to the luster that I believe it should be when it was new and unissued. So everything came out really nice. The rear sight ladder was a little spot on it, so they're redoing that. But other than that, I'm happy with everything. I'll go in a little bit close. You can see got that nice matte finish on the black. You can actually see the two-tone. When I move the camera, you can see the two-tone in the receiver there. You can see the definite color difference in that receiver. So in the front too, you can notice it between the receiver and the barrel. You can see the difference in the receiver. The middle of the receiver is nice and black. The two ends are a slightly different color because of the heat treating they went through to harden them. There's that bolt that we worked on and we re-welded. We had the lugs built up, so now it's got real good headspace. You can see that's got a real nice finish. The extractor just had a few little minor surface issues, so I cleaned it up, gave it a little bit of graining. There's that's that bolt that had the serial number in. I was able to get the serial number out of there. And the ball had a few little issues and chips. We got that cleaned up. So that's looking really good. I'm real happy with everything. Here's the butt plate. If you remember how beat up and smashed up that was. See if I can get a good shot of it here. Get my trusty camera to cooperate. There you can see the graining. See the graining in there. You remember how beat up that was? Had dents and dings all the way along its edges. I told you to pay attention to it in the beginning of the video because I knew what we could make it look like. So that's all been cleaned up. There's no more dents, no more issues. So it looks really good, really nice. And I made sure that the little trap door was done at the same time so that the graining would all match. So it's important that it all look uniform and the same. So I left that in with a bit of gloss to it. I didn't bead blast it, left it just a little bit of sheen to it. So what else did we clean up, fix up? All our sling swivels. All the screw heads I went over all the screw heads and cleaned them up. Gave them a bit of a spin on the lathe. Made sure the slots were nice and clean and no issues there. So all the screws, every screw looks new again. So try to give you a full rebuild. There's that piece for the bolt stop that was fairly pitted at the end. So that came out really good. I cleaned all the pitting up. I gave it a bit of a grain. So let me get over here where the camera won't get quite so confused. So that came out really good. I'm happy with that. You can see that graining in there. So everything is good. That piece there, once again, it had some spots, so I cleaned it up, grained it a bit. You see the E for Eddystone there. So that came out really good. Everything came out nice. It's got just that nice satiny finish that I was looking for, Well, it's all in the metal prep. It's how nice you prep it. There's that trigger guard that had the rust issues, the pits and everything. So you can see that's nicely cleaned up. There's no more spots at all on there. It's gorgeous. And there's the floor plate. Give it a bit of graining. Keep her looking new. So everything looks really good. I'm real happy with that. And a receiver ring, and that's that new bolts rear volley sight, peep sight, Eddystone. That come out good. So the dial was good, or the plate with the markings. So that looks great. This thing's just going to look gorgeous now. And the bands, you know, there wasn't much wrong with the bands, just a little bit of light pitting that if we hadn't have cleaned it up, you'd see it in the black oxide. So everything got a little bit of a graining, a little bit of a cleaning and a graining. So that looks all new again. Front band, it's Eddystone once again, but it's got a little bit of a grain to it now, and no more pitting at all, no issues. So front sight, same thing, cleaned it up. It had marks in it and dings around the edges, so that's all been cleaned up. And so I gave it a little bit of graining as well. So I'm real happy. This on the barrel, I made sure the front of the barrel has got just a little bit of gloss to it, not much, but a little bit of a sheen there, and it's got a little bit of graining. And but then it drops off in sheen when it's going to be hidden by the wood. Once again, I'm just trying to save the customer some money, not waste time on stuff that's not that necessary. Here's kind of a nice contrast. Hopefully the camera can pick this up. The screw got a bit of graining and polishing to it, but the pointer didn't. So it's going to be a really nice contrast when it's installed. So overall, I'm happy. You know, all your trigger guard screws and everything are all nice and new looking again. So we're a couple days away on the wood. So we're going to get the wood all finished, and I can get this assembled today. Like I say, we're just waiting on the rear sight ladder to be re-blued. Just didn't come out quite 100%, so it's a nice stacking swivel. And so anything with issues, any dings, dents, anything was all filed out and cleaned up. So we've got this thing looking as new as we can possibly make it. Let me see the other side of that receiver. As you remember, this had damage, you know, everywhere. You know, as far as little dings, you can see the color, you can see the difference in the hardening right there. You can see the where it was spot hardened and where it wasn't. The bluing takes on a different tinge at that point, and it's completely normal. There was pitting and issues on that barrel ring. We preserved all the markings beautifully, so there's no more issues now at all. Just clean as a whistle. So that came out really good. I'm real happy with everything. So we'll go ahead and get this thing assembled today. That piece was all pitted, so we got the face of that all cleaned up real nice. It's got a little bit of texture in her now. So alright, so that's about it for this one. I'll wrap this up, and next time you see it, it'll be all assembled. So stay tuned. Alright, so we boiled the wood for the P14 from Maryland, Matthews P14. We boiled this wood now for the first time. I just wanted you to have a bit of a look. Those cartouches came out really good. Let me see if I can get a good shot here with our trusty little camera. See if it will cooperate and show us what we need to see. But you can see that none of that cartouching was lost. All the grain, as usual. I always love that grain to show up. I could just get a little tiny bit. There we go. So now if I move along slowly, I left that nail in there. There's that reinforcing nail runs right through the whole gun. There's the other end of it right there. They're too difficult to remove. You'll destroy the wood trying to get that out of there. So we just have to work with it in there, unfortunately. But it's not bad. The wood swells up a bit, so the pin is actually below the surface. So we won't be taking much down off the side here. So hopefully we won't hit that pin. I got that cross bolt out of there. That fought me a little bit, but that came out good. But you can just see, you know, there's that really bad spot. But even that, how much nicer that spot looks. So now everything come out good. You can just see that grain. That's just so beautiful. And it's got nice, this stock is gorgeous. Got all nice sharp lines. Never been sanded from what I can tell. So that's all cleaned up. Everything looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and give it its second boil. But look at how nice that grain looks. Just jumps right out at you. Just look at that. That's gorgeous. How open that grain is. So that's really something I love to promote. There's a little tiny bit of damage there. You can see around where that cutout is for the volley sight disc, but we can clean that up. A little bit of filler right in there. That's no big deal. But everything else is looking good. Nice and sharp that line is there. So this is going to be a great gun when it's all done. It's going to look good. And look at inside. And this is just the initial boil. You can see how nice and clean that is in there. So we're going to get that out of there. I forgot to punch out those spacers in there, those metal shims. So I'll have to do that now before the second boil. But as you can see, there's very little damage on this stock. A few minor chips. There's that other symbol, that 4E or whatever it is with the crown. That's going to come out really nice. You can see that quite clearly. There's that beautiful grain again. And like I say, I was trying to point out to you when I first fired the camera how nice the cartouches have survived the boiling. So they come out really good. I'll just go in there with a really sharp little scribe and just clean them up a little bit, just accentuate them just a hair. Here's where the disc came out from the unit disc came out. So, but anyway, it's looking good. So that's it for that stock. And the handguards, of course, all the handguards came out really nice. They all look good from the beginning. So that's all excellent. And nice and sharp all those lines are, eh? And you know, not a ding in sight hardly. I mean, just that boiling pops that wood out of there like nothing. There's nice metal reinforcing bands, all look good. Yeah, this one, like I said, didn't have any nomenclature inside of it at all. The other handguard did have a couple of small, yeah, it had that symbol there and that right there. That was the only thing inside. The outside, once again, is just gorgeous. So that's it for the first boil. So it's coming right along. The gun's coming right along. It's been bead blasted and all the parts are ready to be repaired and blued. But I just wanted to get a shot of this wood as it's coming along. So we'll get that back in the boiling tank, and one more boil should do it, and we'll let you see how it looks at that point. Alright, so we've got our wood for the P14, British P14, boiled, cleaned up and boiled for the second and I believe the final time. It's come out nice and clean. So it's been boiled now for a few days, and I don't see any more oil coming out of it, so we can pretty much assume that that's about as good as it's going to get. And it does look absolutely excellent. This thing is going to clean up so nice. You can see that most of the dings popped out. There's very, very few. You know, the hand guards, everything came out really nice. Let me move in and see if we can get a good shot of that grain that I like so much. And once we boil them, look at that. It's just like new. A few little minor dings, but not bad. 90% of them pop out. So makes our job a whole lot easier. Just look at that. That's just beautiful. Like I say, minor stuff still got to be filled, but compared to what this thing looked like when it came in, I mean, it wasn't terrible, but you can just see the vast difference how nice and clean they come out when you do boil them. So we'll get that all nice and stained and oiled up, and it's going to be a real beauty. Yeah. So I like that grain, and none of the edges are damaged at all. Nothing gets hurt by the boiling. So in that barrel, in the receiver channel, you can see just how clean everything is. I mean, I can get a close-up in here. You can see just how mint that is. Look at how clean all that is. Christ, it's like it was milled yesterday. Just beautiful. Just beautiful. So that's going to come out just gorgeous. So let's have a look at those cartouches over here. They came out excellent. I'm getting close. You can see just how nice they survived the boiling. Just see everything just as clear as day. Pattern of P14, DEY. No, I'm happy. Very happy. She looks beautiful. So going to go ahead and get a few things filled on this one. We'll block it out first with 180, make sure she's nice and straight. And once we get that done, we got a few dings we got to fix. A little bit of damage. I remember there was a little tiny bit of damage around there. Yeah, a little bit. So we'll fix that up. But overall, for being 1916, it's almost 100 years old. It's looking just beautiful. So, and barely any cracks. I don't know if there's any cracks at all in this thing. I don't really see. Yeah, there's just nothing. I just don't see any cracking at all. So it's an excellent stock. Same with the handguards. There's no cracking there. Nothing. Just perfect use you could ask for. So anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and we're going to get that cleaned up, stained, tongue oiled. So in about a week we should have this stock all done. All the metal parts are moving right along really nice. I got all the metal finishing just about done. So that thing will be getting blued within the next 4 or 5 days or so. So everything is progressing along very nicely. So that's that for that one. Just wanted you to see it after it was boiled for that second time. It really finishes them off nicely. So I'll go ahead and get this thing done, and we'll keep you in the loop as we're going. Alright, so we've reached the point now where we got this wood all blocked out real nice. We cleaned it all up, and we put our first coat of stain on it now. So you can see, for example, those cartouches are absolutely beautiful. They survived the boiling and the refinishing process just excellent. Here's where that disc is going to go. You can see how nice the grain is now. How nice and clean everything is. You can just see that beautiful walnut grain. I knew this was going to be a gorgeous stock when it was refinished. I could just tell by the grain in it and the color of it. So it come out really good, really good. I was able to block out 99% of all the little marks and dings. Remember, a lot of it came out in the boiling. So I didn't have quite as big a job ahead of me to get all that stuff cleaned up. So that's nice because you can block out so much of it. So it really come out good. There's a little bit right there. We had to put some filler in right there, and it's still quite visible. But we've got a little bit more stain to do. So hopefully, if the filler stays that dark and doesn't get too much darker, but yet the wood does darken a little bit, then it'll blend in a little bit nicer. But there's very, very, very little filler in this stock. Very little. Just we're able to sand out, like I say, 99% of the damage. So that's good. She was a beauty. So there's that other cartouche right there. It was like a 4E something. So that survived very nicely. You can see that. So I'm real happy with it. It's just got gorgeous grain in it. It's going to be a beauty. So anyway, we're coming way down the line on this one now. Like I say, that's only the first coat. So look at that grain. It's so nice when you boil them. They open up so nice like that. Just looks like a vintage piece of wood, but just so mint with no damage, no issues. So you put another coat of stain on there, and that color is just going to jump out even nicer. And we have put a little bit of filler in there. Had some damage there from probably when that volley sight. If you remember, that volley sight was broken. So I'm thinking that maybe something hit this gun and snapped that volley sight, and then that volley sight itself hit the wood and put a chip in it. So that's another spot we had to put some filler in. We couldn't help it. But overall, it just came out beautiful. Just really came out nice. I want to see this really nice grain right here. Look at that. It's going to look stunning when you put some tongue oil on that. Man, that piece is just going to look gorgeous. So I can't wait to see this stock finished. But once again, we were able to sand out, block out every little ding or mark that was in there. There's no filler at all in that. All the lines are still nice and sharp. You can see that groove in there is just well defined. So it's going to look gorgeous with tongue oil on there. Really nice piece. And of course the other handguard too, that came out just as nice. No issues, no filler in this at all just blocked out. You know, it was nice wood to begin with, but then that boiling really helps. It makes all that wood just swell up and the dings pop out, and man. And look at that, the stain just goes in so nice, and the grain stays so nice and open. So yeah, I'm sold on boiling. No way around that. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and get another coat of stain on this today and let it dry for a day or so, and then we'll if we're happy with the color and everything, then we'll start tongue oiling, or we might put one more coat of stain on. We're not sure yet. We'll see what it looks like tomorrow. So I'll give you another little shot of it, and we'll see what she looks like later on. Alright, so we've put the second coat of stain now on this P14 wood, and boy, is that ever bringing that grain out beautiful now. We might stop at 2 coats, not 100% sure yet. We'll look at it in a day or so. But let's look at how beautiful, you know, like I say, we were able to block out pretty much all the damage that was in that stock. So it left very little to fill. Very little. Look at how nice that grain just opens right up. So that's 2 coats of stain. It's just a stain that I make up myself. There's a reinforcing nail. So we've taken that, we've sanded that wood down, and we're just touching the head of that nail now. So we can't go any further anyway, but we've gotten everything out of there now. It's really nice, really nice. That grain just looks gorgeous. So nice and clean. Put some tongue oil on there, and that's color, and everything's just going to blow up, just jump right out at you. And unfortunately, we had to use a little bit of filler right there where that wood was chipped, but that still won't look bad once it's got a bit of tongue oil on there. But just look at that grain, eh? We make sure that, you know, the edge, that top edge all the way along here is nice and sharp, and we go over that and really detail that. So made sure we didn't, you know, bugger that line up right there. That line is still nice and sharp in there. It fades just as it should. You know, and this line stayed nice and well defined, so nothing got damaged there. You can see how nice and detailed and sharp that all is. So we're very careful not to round anything. You see how sharp that edge is. So we're very careful to preserve the wood and not, you can see the corner there is nice and detailed and sharp. The cartouches, there's that cartouche we talked about when this gun first came in. So how nicely preserved all the way through the boiling and refinishing process. That just stayed nice and crisp. So yeah, so it's going to be gorgeous. Like I say, we might put one more coat of stain on. It's a little bit of, it's kind of sucking in here a bit in that end grain. Another spot we had to put a little bit of filler in right there, but the amount of filler is you know, almost nothing. It was such a good stock to begin with, and we were able to sand out a lot of the issues that it had. Well, here's the other side, how nice that looks. You can see how nice that grain is. And there's that hole for the disc. And here's those really nice cartouches. You can see once again how they stayed beautiful. No damage, no loss of sharpness. There's that nice wood again. So like I say, that's 2 coats. That may be enough. I mean, it looks really good. The grain is sticking out. You can see all the detail and definition in the wood. So we might stop. There was the worst repair right there. We put filler in there, and we were hoping that, you know, by putting a second coat of stain on the wood, it might help darken the wood a little bit. The filler wouldn't be so noticeable, but unfortunately, you're going to see it. But considering it's 100 years old almost, I think we can live with it. Once again, we kept everything nice and sharp. We didn't knock any edges off. So this side, once again, that edge is beautiful. So it's really come out nice. Really happy with that. And the hand guards, this is that one hand guard I really like. It's got that nice dark section in it. So It's a little darker now, like I say, with 2 coats of stain on. The whole piece has darkened up a little bit, but that's a little bit closer to what it was when it was new. So, but just look at how nice that grain just jumps out at you. There's our groove in there is well defined, so that's still nice and sharp. So, it's gonna look good. It really look nice. There's our other hand guard. So that, like I say, that 2 coats of stain might do it. Overall, it looks pretty nice. Got a real nice red tinge to it. So we might call it good at 2 coats. We're not sure yet. I'll make a judgment call later in the day. Because tomorrow we're either going to put 1 more coat of stain or start putting the tung oil on. So not sure, but I'm kind of leaning almost to leaving it the way it is, because it's got a nice kind of a medium color to it, so the grain really stands out. If we make it any darker, you start losing the definition of the grain. So I'm just kind of trying to hide that a little bit, but like I say, I just couldn't avoid it. And I wish filler would take stain the same rate that wood does, but unfortunately it never does, no matter what they claim. But anyway, if that's really all we got to worry about, that's not bad, considering we're dealing with a piece of wood that's that old. I think we did it more good than harm. Anyway, I'll let you see it in a little bit. Alright, so we finally got the wood for the British P14 all done. It got 3 coats of stain, nice beautiful reddish walnut stain that we make up ourselves right here, and then 2 coats of tung oil. So that's plenty. You can see that she's all sealed up real nice. It's actually a little shinier now than it'll be when the rifle goes out. We'll knock that shine off a little bit with just a piece of steel wool. A little shiny for a military weapon, but I mean not bad. But and you can see just how beautiful that grain is. A couple spots there was put some filler in, but we got that looking pretty good for filler. Filler is always a problem. That's our biggest nemesis, is trying to make filler look like it isn't there. But everything else came out beautiful. All the little scratches and dings and gouges, everything's gone. Everything, it just blocked out beautifully. So there's all those cartouches. We preserved them just absolutely perfect. No problem at all. There's where that disc is going to go. But you can just see that beautiful, beautiful open grain. Just how nice that looks. So that sheen is, like I say, just a touch higher than it's going to be, but not bad. There's our hand guards. They came out beautiful as well. No issues, no dings. You can see how straight they are, the way the light bounces off of them. So I think we're going to have one happy P14 owner here. We're going to assemble it all today. So this gun will be basically done today. I just want to test fire it. That's the one that we had that bolt welded up and repaired. So, but everything come out really nice. That's that nice hand guard. It's got the nice color difference at the back there. So it's going to be a very nice looking piece of wood. And of course the other side of the stock looks just as nice. So it's beautiful. It came out really, really gorgeous. So can't wait to get this one done. Like I say, a little shiny, but we'll fix that. Those cartouches underneath there, they look really good. They came out nice. You can see them. So that looks gorgeous. I'm real happy with that. So that's about it for this. Like I say, blocked her all out and stained her up, so she's good to go. And have one more look at that nice grain. Also, we'll go over this with steel wool to, knock off any little tiny bits of lint and, hair, little fibers and things that stuck to the tung oil, when we were, as the tung oil was drying. So the steel wool will help straighten all that up and knock those little bits off. But other than that, she's gorgeous. It's just a beautiful, beautiful piece of wood. So we preserved every cartouche on it. So just as good as new. So we're going to go ahead and get that done, and next time you see all this, it's going to be assembled into a completely finished rifle. So stay tuned. Well, we've finally got this P14 completed. I've been plugging away on this one. It was in for a complete rebuild. Reblued it, redid the wood, found and supplied some of the missing parts and pieces. Overall, the gun was in nice shape, as you remember, but she's in really nice shape now. Was able to find him a nice 16 dated proper sling, unissued, so that's quite nice. Very near mint. Looks just right on this one. It's got to be a little bit careful. I noticed the rivets holding the keepers together are awful close to the wood, so we don't want to have any. Here we're safe. We just got the knot, but it's got to be careful. Even this could scratch the trigger guard, so care has to be taken using this sling. But I just wanted to go over this thing carefully, nice and slow, give a chance to see the wood. That wood was boiled, of course, and any and all dings and marks were either sanded out or filled. Luckily, we were able to block out almost everything as far as damage. And then we gave it a nice stain, a walnut stain. We add a little bit of red to it just to give it a nice, just vintage kind of look. The upper handguard's got that nice dark section at the back, so really gives it a nice contrast. Everything else came out good, though. We're very careful when we block. We make sure that we keep all our edges and our lines. You can see that body line there, how sharp that is. Make sure we keep that all nice and crisp and sharp. All the edges are good, so it looks virtually new. Once again, it's that nice, really open grain. Really nothing compares with boiling that wood. That just nothing else could get that wood looking that nice. So enough on the wood. The metal was all re-black oxided. Everything had a slight bit of surface rust and minor pitting to it. Nothing bad, not as bad as some of the ones you've seen me fix, but it was still wasn't perfect. We certainly couldn't have blued it. All the screw heads were all cleaned up, and I gave them a quick spin and buffed the heads up a little bit. So pretty much everything was bead blasted afterwards. I left the barrel a little bit shiny, as per original. But all the other accessories and accoutrements are kind of a semi-gloss black. So there's our band. Once again, screw heads are all fixed and cleaned up. So that looks good. Got a nice eggshell finish. Made sure those rivets stayed nice and clean. There's our dial indicator for the front volley sight. You can see the pieces are kind of a semi-gloss finish, but the screw head is a little bit shinier. Try and keep it all looking original as it would have been. The receiver's kind of interesting because the receiver is heat treated. It's hardened at the front and hardened at the rear. So you can see the obvious color difference right there. We saw it before I even started. You could see the color difference in the receiver from the factory hardening that they did, where they hardened it a little bit at the rear and then they hardened it a little bit at the front, once again for better wear characteristics and longer service life. But it gives it a bit of a kind of a maroonish tinge to the metal because of the way it was heat treated, but that's completely original. All the other parts are nice and deep blue black, so it's kind of a nice contrast. There's all the bolt stop and the rear volley sight. You remember that rear volley sight was missing, was broken, so now I've found him a new one, so it looks right at home. That the spring for the bolt stop, well, really for the volley sight, was badly pitted, so we got that all cleaned up. I gave it a little bit of graining and left it a little bit shiny, so that looks really, really nice. So you can see now the receiver, all the metal in the receiver is just virtually perfect. There's no issues at all, no pitting, no scratching, nothing. It's as nice as we can make it. So we got the trigger guard and everything that was pitted. So we've gone ahead. I'm just going to turn this over a little bit. We went ahead and we grained. We gave the trigger guard some graining. Once again, the screw heads were all cleaned up and polished. And the trigger guard was a little bit beat up and pitted a bit, so we cleaned that up, gave it a little bit of graining, so it looks really, really nice in there now. And the trigger guard itself, if you remember correctly, that was pitted. It had some bad pitting issues in it, so I went ahead and polished it, cleaned it up, got rid of all the pitting, so you can see now it's just got a beautiful pit-free surface, so it's as good as new. Once again, nice screw head. There's one of the original cartouches that we were able to save quite nicely. They came out really good. So there's more of that wood. There's that nice sling that I got for the guy. So of course, rear sling swivel. So everything looks good. Everything came out nice. I just want to pay a little attention to that. If you remember correctly, when we started, and I told you to pay attention, the butt plate was in bad shape. So we went ahead and we cleaned up all the dents and dings and rust and pits, and went ahead and gave that a nice brush finish, so that looks basically new. No issues there. We cleaned up the let's wipe that oil off there. We cleaned up the screw head and gave it a bit of a polish, so that all looks new now. That's in really good shape. I'm just going to turn this rifle over, and we'll look at the other side of it. So there we go. So once again, this side is really nice. Starting at the back, obviously that wood again looks just gorgeous. But the rear disc there, it didn't have any markings on it from the factory, so we just left it alone. We just bead blasted it. Everything got bead blasted on this, not sandblasted, but glass bead. There's those original cartouches that we noticed right in the beginning, so we made sure to keep them nice and crisp. So once again, the wood is just perfect, just beautiful. Now there's that, you can see that bolt handle. That's that bolt that we worked on that needed to be welded. So we got that done, we got that all welded up, and it works beautifully. I've test fired it, and she runs like a clock. So everything here is nice. Let me, if I can get this to stand up. One sec. There. She'll stand up now. Okay. I went ahead and cleaned up everything. I re-blued the rear sight ladder, but then I sanded the bluing off the face of it as is per original. So I left all the, I don't know if I can get the camera to cooperate a little bit, but left all the numbers nice and sharp and crisp. So that all looks good. That all came out real nice. You can see a little bit of that purplish color of the receiver again back there, especially in contrast to the black parts. Once again, that's absolutely 100% correct. So all the markings were saved perfectly. That receiver had a little bit of pitting in it, if you remember. So that's all been cleaned up. It got a little bit of oil there, causing some discoloration. But you can see how nice and even the bluing is. So we're very careful in our preparation. This is the side that had the that had a fairly substantial ding. I'm just gonna wipe that oil off there. That had a fairly substantial ding in the metal right in there, if you remember correctly. So that all came out really good. That bolt handle, cleaned it all up. We had some surface rust on the face of the safety, so we got that cleaned up and gave it a bit of a graining. So that all looks good. So like I say, overall, that stock bolt, got that out of there finally, and polished up the head of it a little bit, so it looks like a new bolt. We had to work around those pins, but that's okay. We didn't have to take the wood down too far, so the pin wasn't really on our way. You couldn't remove it anyway. Little tiny bit of filler put in right there. That's about the only filler we had to use in this stock. So it's too bad it won't quite take the stain as the rest of the wood does, but not much we can do about that. There's another finished screw head and that front band, the swivel. So everything is absolutely pit free now. You can see how sharp, you know, all the lines have been maintained on the stock. Nothing's been rounded or defaced. There's a nice front band. Everything on this is an Eddystone. I gave that band a little bit of graining on there, as you can see. And of course there's that nice barrel. This thing's got a mint barrel on it. And that front sight was cleaned up. It was being, you know, banged up a little bit around its edges, so that's all really nice now. So everything is just as per original. We worked very hard to make sure that everything was duplicated accurately and correctly. I made sure all the wood came out the way it should. So overall, you know, for a 1916 P14 Enfield, I'm real happy with how this one came out. I mean, it really, really looks great. This one's from Maryland, so we're basically going to ship it back in the next couple of days. So I appreciate the U.S. work. This is the second gun that arrived here from the U.S. I've got a third one in now. Came in last week from Connecticut. So, and we just returned the one to Missouri. First one that came in from Missouri. We finished that one, sent it back actually a few weeks ago. So everything's coming along real good. I'm glad that you American customers are appreciating what we're doing over here. And it's too bad I got to take work away from Americans, but I'm just, you know, trying to be as picky as I can, and obviously you're liking what you're seeing. So that's about it for this one. I'm going to wrap this puppy up, but it came out really good. I'm very, very happy with the end result, and I'm quite sure that the customer will be pleased with it. So we took it from a pretty nice piece. It wasn't junk, but it wasn't mint. But now it's absolutely showpiece, museum quality, I think. So anyway, I appreciate you all watching, and we're wrapping this one up, and we will catch you on the next one. So stay out of trouble, and thanks again for all the business.